Today we're going to learn how to factor trinomials. Remember, tri means three. As in a tricycle has three wheels, a trinomial has three terms. So let's learn how to factor them. If we recall from the box method, our first term is created from multiplying our two variables together. Our last term is created by multiplying our two numbers together, and our middle term was created by adding the two terms together. That's going to be really key when it comes to factoring, which means moving from the trinomial to the binomials. Again, moving from the trinomial to the binomials. So let's try an example. Our trinomial is b squared plus 8b plus 7. So I'm going to set up my binomials. I know the b squared was created from b times b. I know this 7 came from multiplication, and this 8 was created through addition. So it's kind of like a puzzle. I need two numbers that multiply to equal 7 and add to be 8. So let me start with the factors of 7. The factors of 7. Well, 7 is only created by multiplying 1 and 7 together. Because this 7 is positive, our numbers will have the same sign. And because this is positive, we know they have to be positive. So let me check that this works. 1 plus 7 equals 8. Sweet. That means when I factor this trinomial, it will look like b plus 1 times b plus 7. This is my final answer. Let's take a look at another one. Here we have n squared minus 10n plus 9. Once again, I'm going to set up my binomials. I know the n squared was created by multiplying n times n. This 9 was created through multiplication. The negative 10 was created through addition. So what I need is two numbers that multiply to be 9 and add to be negative 10. Let's start by writing the factors of 9. Factors of 9 are 1 and 9, and 3 times 3. Because this 9 is positive, we know our numbers are going to have the same sign. They're either going to be both positive or both negative. This negative sign right here tells me they have to both be negative. So let's make them both negative and see what happens. Now I'm going to add them together and see which magic pair gets me negative 10. Looks like my magic pair is negative 1 and negative 9. They're the two numbers that multiply to be positive 9 and add to be negative 10. So when I factor this trinomial, my answer is n minus 1 times n minus 9. Here's the third type we might see, n squared plus 4n minus 12. Once again, write my binomials. I know n squared was created from n times n. I need two numbers that multiply to be negative 12 and add to be 4. Because this sign is negative, I know my signs will be opposite. So one will be positive and one will be negative. Because that's the only way you can create a negative number through multiplication. It's by multiplying a negative by a positive. So let's figure out my factors of 12. They're 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4. Now because this is positive, that means my larger number has to be positive. So we know our smaller number has to be negative, while our larger number is positive. Let's go ahead and add these together and see which one gives us a positive 4. This gives us an 11, 4, and 1. Looks like our magic pair is the numbers -2 and 6. So when I factor my trinomial, my binomial should be n minus 2 and n plus 6. Let's look at our last example. Once again, set up your binomials. N squared was made from n times n. We need two numbers that multiply to be -56 and add to be -1. This is a -1. Because this is negative, my signs will be different. One positive, one negative. Because the middle term is negative, you know the larger number has to be negative. Let's go ahead and write our factors of 56. Okay, our factors of 56 are 1 and 56, 2 and 28, and 7 and 8. So our bigger number has to be negative, so let's make our bigger number negative and see when I add these together which one gets me -1. It looks like my magic pair is +7 and -8. So when I factor my trinomial, my binomials are n plus 7 times n minus 8, because those are the two numbers that multiply to be -56 and add together to be -1. If you're not sure if you factored correctly, you can always take your two binomials and multiply them together using the box method. And you'll see if you factored correctly, because your trinomials should match. Let's go ahead and summarize what we have learned, what our tips and tricks are. If your C value is positive, the signs of your binomials will be the same. If your C values are negative, the signs will be different. Both terms will be positive if your B is positive. Both terms positive. If your B is negative, you'll see both terms are negative. When our C value is negative, our signs are different, and we know the larger term is positive if B is positive. So larger number, positive. And on the opposite side, if we see a negative B, then our larger number is negative.